Hello, and welcome to The Jib. This podcast is about the many and varied schemes of the many and varied U.S. law enforcement and intelligence agencies, organizations, and committees, and how they are stupid and funny. Join us on our merry journey through space and time. Hi, my name's Barry. You might know me from my utterly delusional tweets.
That we do. Hello, everybody. I'm Seamus, and you may know me from the fantastic Fourth Wall.
Because you're staring at the camera, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Seamus, today we are talking about the war on drugs. Is that correct?
That's correct. This was not what we planned on talking about, but this story just came together. So,
if we want to be honest about it, I was supposed to do a script, and I did not do so. So we're doing this one instead.
Well, and also I was going to do something completely different, and then this came along. So
the good news is we have a lot of good shows upcoming, right? But this is good.
Yeah, that's what you say now.
I'd never heard about this guy.
Yeah, me neither. So,
all
right, our story begins May 20th, 1892. Harry Anslinger, man, I'm terrible to get already. Anslinger was born in Altoona, Pennsylvania. His parents were
you, isn't it?
About 2 hours, I think, give or take.
No, man. No, you're in America. 2 hours means close.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
His parents were Swiss and German descent. He was the eldest of 5 children in a very Catholic household.
Is that it?
Yep, that's the boy there in the middle below Dad. It's
okay.
Little Harry there. His father, Roberts, went to work for the Pennsylvania Railroad, and that was the same year Harry was born. When Harry was young, he had an experience that would shape his life, his future, rather, from author Johann Hari. He lived near a farmer and his wife, and one day he goes to the farmhouse, and the farmer's wife is screaming and asking for something. The farmer sent little Harry Anslinger to local pharmacists to buy opiates, because, of course, opiates were legal back then. Harry Anslinger hurries back. It's going to be a long episode. Hurries back and gives the opiates to the farmer's wife. The farmer's wife stops screaming, but he remembers that this as a foundational moment where he realized the evils of drugs.
You think that would be a nice thing when you hear the stop screaming, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's like, the Silence of the Lambs, right? The lambs stop screaming.
I think I've read the Harry book that comes from, the Johann Hari book.
Oh, really?
About, drug use and heroin and so on. And he's saying that heroin is really self-medication for misery.
Mm.
And also, if you legalize it, it solves a lot of problems and give people free heroin whenever they want it, which sounds ridiculous, but it works in getting them off it.
Right. I remember you talk about the analogy of the stockbroker, right, or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, my dad, and presumably everybody, my dad went into hospital for an operation, and when he came out, he was on this diamorphine tap, and he got to dose himself whenever he wanted. And they discovered in surveys universally that when people control their own dosage, they take a lot less than when they're prescribed it.
Right.
And he did. He took a lot less than he would otherwise have. Diamorphine is pharmaceutical-grade heroin. It is exactly the same chemical. There's no difference except it's pure. And hospitals use diamorphine all the time. People stay on diamorphine for about 2 weeks while they're in recovery. And when they come out, they have no withdrawal symptoms. They don't feel like psychologically addicted or anything because they are patients in a system and it's understood what they're taking it for. And the whole thing is just set up in that way. So heroin addiction, we just have the whole wrong idea about heroin addiction.
And we're gonna have a lot of bad ideas for this episode. So.
Okay.
After completing the 8th grade, he began to work with his father at the railroad. He started freshman year. At age 14, he continued attending morning sessions at the local high school, working afternoons and evenings for the railroad. Failing to receive a high school diploma in 1909, 17-year-old Harry enrolled at Altoona Business College, which that's kind of interesting. You could do that without a diploma. For the next 2 years, he received additional tutoring. In 1912, he granted a furlough permitted him to enroll in Pennsylvania State College, where he studied a 2-year associate degree program in business and engineering while working during weekends and vacation period.
I'll say this for him, he's hardworking and he's focused.
Yep, that's him right there.
He works hard.
After college, what's that?
What's happening with his coat? Is it tied behind his back?
I don't. He just got a long coat, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like cape-ish looking, isn't it?
Hmm.
After college, Harry worked as a clerk for Pennsylvania Railroad in 1915 while working as an investigator for the railroad. The now 23-year-old Harry conducted an investigation that would made an impression. Harry was able to prove that a widow's claim in a railroad accident was fraudulent. The claim was in the amount of $50,000, which was a shit ton of money back then.
Yeah.
He saved the company the payout and was promoted to captain of railroad police. Between 1917 and 28, Harry worked for various military and police organizations. This work would take him all over the world, from Germany to Venezuela to Japan. His work to focus on drug trafficking. 1929, he returned to the States, where he quickly gained a job with the Treasury Department's Bureau of Probation. Prohibition, not probation. Prohibition, as in the war on alcohol, right?
The war on alcohol, yeah.
During this period, corruption ran amok among various institutions, which led to a house cleaning for the Bureau. Harry was seen as being free of such corruption. He considered to be among those who saw prohibition as a noble cause. This would see him rise hard and fast in the ranks, as well as gain some political capital as well.
It's odd that the Prohibition Bureau was in the Treasury Department, isn't it? Instead, not the Justice Department.
Right, this is all under the same. It's just a different branch, right? 1930, now 38, Harry was appointed the founding commissioner of the Treasurer's Federal Bureau of Narcotics by Secretary Andrew W. Mellon, who just happened to be his wife's uncle.
Oh, okay.
Harry was given a large budget and free range of his duties.
Oh, here we go.
With prohibition winding down.
As Commissioner of Narcotics, building a new program. Okay, cool.
Yep. With prohibition winding down, Harry needed a new target for the FBN. The FBN would, of course, be a precursor for today's DEA.
DEA, yeah.
Yep. So, now, Barry, have you ever heard of something called cannabis or hemp?
I have heard of cannabis, yes, and hemp.
Okay. Would you believe that during this time, there was no federal restrictions on such a plant?
I'm surprised there are federal restrictions on it now.
During this time, hemp was commonly used for pain relief and recreation, as well as used in an industrial manner, right? It was clean, it was cheap, easily available, and easily to produce. It was even then seen as less harmful and addictive as opium, such that was also around back at the time and able to get. Harry began his campaign for a passage of the Uniform State Narcotics Act.
Now, hold on there. This thing is called the Uniform State Narcotic Drug Act. And I have to say, you would never get away with that these days because it is a terrible acronym. U.S. Uniform State Narcotics Drug Act is ISND. And no one's going to campaign for ISND. Right? Because, remember the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA?
Yeah, NAFTA.
That's fine. Yeah. NAFTA this, NAFTA that. NAFTA. Cool. But no one's going to be like, he could have just called it the State Uniform Narcotic Drug. That'll be Sunday. That'll be something, wouldn't it? Sunday morning coming down. No, Sunday, yeah. All right. I actually don't know what it is. What is it?
They needed you back then, Barry, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. Let me tell you
now.
let me tell you all about it. The National Conference of Commissioners on the Uniform State Laws developed the Uniform State Narcotics Act in 1934 due to the lack of restrictions in the Harrison Act of 1914. We're getting in the weeds. The Harrison Act, no pun intended, was a review production act. The
Harrison Act was. The Harrison Act would have been, and I didn't know this. I looked it up when you gave me the first draft of this script.
Yeah,
and I looked it up on Wikipedia. Wikipedia told me that it's basically an import tax for opiates.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So it didn't cover enough, is what they're saying, right?
Yes.
So while it provided penalties for violations, it did not give authority to the states to exercise police power regarding either seizures of drugs, used in illicit trade or punishment of those responsible, because suckers got to get paid, yo, right? That's what this is all about. That's right. That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard about this guy. He plays a minor role in some of the things in history, Barry, but his name is William Randolph Hearst.
Heard of that the 1930s answer to Rupert Murdoch.
That's it. Yep.
Yes.
He used his newspaper media chain to boost Harry's campaign for the passage of the Drug Act. The draft of the act was submitted to the American Bar Association in its meetings in Washington in 1932. It was officially approved by the body and sent to various states the following year. The purpose of the act was to make the law uniform in various states with respect to controlling sales and use of narcotic drugs. The Commission on the Uniform State Laws intended to effectively safeguard and regulate narcotic drugs throughout all of the states. I almost said 50 states, but we didn't have 50 states then.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The question is, instead of trying to make the law uniform in various states by doing the states one by one, do you know why they didn't just try and make it a federal law?
Why is that?
No, I'm asking you.
Oh.
I don't know.
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I think that they're
that's
just
what they
trying
do now,
to
isn't it? Like
ratify.
things like with gay marriage, they stopped waiting for the states to ratify it individually and just federal law to ram it through the Supreme Court.
Right, and then you have people say, "Oh, states' rights." Yeah, get behind your Confederate flag. Yeah. So.
It seems like an odd approach to go state by state on this for something that would.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where was I? Initially only 9 states adopted the uniform statutes. Yeah. President Roosevelt supported adoption of the act nationwide. Harry went on blast to make this happen. Harry had also already decided that his new target to replace alcohol, of course, was going to be hemp. But he was now referring to it publicly by another name, marijuana. He helped popularize the term because back then everybody was called it hemp or cannabis. But he did this because he believed in the association of the drug with Mexican immigrants. He knew that he could tap in on the racist fears of folks even back then.
I did not know this.
Me neither.
It's quite disturbing.
Yeah.
That the word marijuana is being used to hurt Mexicans.
How would you pronounce that?
Marijuana.
Right?
What is the correct pronunciation? It is Juana, isn't it? Marijuana.
Yeah.
Tijuana.
Yeah.
Daring drug expose. Shame, horror, despair. Marijuana. Weed with roots in hell. Weird orgies and wild parties. A name. Where do I get my marijuana?
It looks like a Chick track. Chick tracks, right?
It looks like a cover of a Rolling Stones album.
Oh, yeah, true. Actually, that would be a badass album.
It would be a badass album cover.
Yeah. Harry used his position to gather stories on marijuana-related crimes and violence. He somehow ignored evidence, though, that allowed for other interpretations. He ignored a discussion forwarded to him by the AMA, the American Medical Association, in which 29 of 30 pharmacists and drug industry's representatives objected to his proposed ban on marijuana. However, only this single dissent was preserved in Bureau's files, and this is the one that he would like his go-to. So he's like, "Look here, we have expert testimony." It's like, no, you have one guy.
That's like the climate change denial people,
right?
They have like 2 or 3 doctors, and they say, "Well, this guy says," but like hundreds of them are. You have to go with the consensus, man. The experts' consensus.
Yeah, and then a lot of those guys too. It's like, where did they get their university? Oh, at Patriot University, which was that fucking double wide in Arizona that they just did paper mills and shit, right? So like Ken Hovind and those fuckers. Yeah. Although the University of Phoenix is probably a little bit more credible than even some of those fuckers. But anywho, sidetrack. Harry ran his campaign against marijuana on the radio in major forums. Do you mind reading that next little bit there? This is the man, Harry.
Is this the same as the first draft you give me?
Should be.
Okay. By the tons it is coming into this country, the deadly, dreadful poison that racks and tears not only the body, but the very heart and soul of every human being who once becomes a slave to it in any of its cruel and devastating forms. Marijuana is a shortcut to the insane asylum. Smoke marijuana cigarettes for a month, and what was once your brain will be nothing but a storehouse of horrid spectres. Hashish makes a murderer who kills for the love of killing out of the mildest mannered man who ever laughed at the idea that any habit could ever get him.
Awesome.
It's quite dramatic, isn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like he's never met anybody who's done marijuana.
Right? Some believe Hearst's efforts, as in William Randolph, in helping Harry was motivated by his concerns that hemp paper would compete with his paper products derived from his timber industry.
Oh.
It has also been claimed that DuPont Corporation supported Harry. I'm going to stop
Harry?
saying his last name. It's going to be a long episode. For fears that hemp products would overtake their investments in nylon. With his continued support from William Randolph Hearst's media empire and funds from DuPont Company, Harry was able to spread his message from coast to coast. Now, one of his most infamous stories he ripped from the American magazine concerning Victor Litica, who killed his family. You want to read that bit there too, Barry?
I guess that's the same as the first draft as well.
Yep.
Okay. An entire family was murdered by a youthful addict in Florida. When officers arrived at the home, they found the youth staggering about in a human slaughterhouse. With an axe, he had killed his father, mother, 2 brothers, and a sister. He seemed to be in a daze. He had no recollection of having committed the multiple crimes. The officers knew him ordinarily as a sane, rather quiet young man. Now he was pitifully crazed. They sought the reason. The boy said he had been in the habit of smoking something which youthful friends called muggles, a childish name for marijuana.
I want to make
Never
a
heard of
JK.
marijuana called muggles.
Yeah, I want to make a J.K. Rowling joke, but I'm not going to. This story was referred to. Was referenced in the 1937 anti-weed film and cult classic Reefer Madness. It is one
Okay,
of
now
the
that would definitely buy that album.
right. It is one of the 200 violent crimes which were documented in Harry's Gore Files series. We now know that Litica's murder of his family was due to severe mental illness. Shocker. Which was diagnosed earlier in his youth, not because of cannabis use at all. Researchers have now provided that Harry wrongfully attributed 198 of his Gore Files, so that's
of the 200.
Pretty high percentage stories to marijuana use. In the remaining 2 cases, could not be disproved because no records existed concerning these crimes.
We made them up.
All right, so without further ado, I would like to share with with you and the rest of our friends.
Please tell me we were going to make this going to happen.
We're going to watch the trailer for the wonderful film Reefer Madness.
These high school boys and girls are having a hop at the local soda fountain. Innocently, they dance. Innocent of a new and deadly menace lurking behind closed doors. Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell. In this film, you will see the ease with which this vicious plant can be grown in your neighbor's yard, rolled into harmless-looking cigarettes, hidden in an innocent shoe or watch case. In this startling film, you will see dopesters lure children to destruction.
We're going over to Joe's place. Why don't you come along? We have a date to play instead of doubles. Oh, you can play anytime. Come on, we'll have some laughs. Can I go along with you? Sure. Hey, I'll see you at dinner, sis.
If you want a good smoke, try one of these.
You will meet Bill, who once took pride in his strong will as he takes the first step toward enslavement.
Of course, if you're afraid.
Smoking the soul-destroying reefer, they find a moment's pleasure, but at a terrible price. Debauchery, violence, murder, suicide. And the ultimate end of the marijuana addict. Hopeless insanity. See this important film now, before it is too late.
Look, come on, Bear. Let's go watch that movie.
Oh man, I mean, Again, all I can say is it's making marijuana look attractive. I've never done any drugs in my life. I don't even drink alcohol, and I never have. But I'm thinking about it now because of that movie. It looks awesome.
You do coke. What?
Coke Zero.
Yeah, but what? The chick playing the piano was the best. That cracks me up every time. Back to our hero.
Yeah.
All right, so Harry's anti-weed attack was full of racism. I know that's a shocker, Heather. Johann Hari stated that Harry was, quote, so racist he was regarded as a crazy racist in the 1920s.
How racist would you have to be considered a racist in the 1920s?
Thank you. He falsely branded cannabis use as an African-American problem. He would make outlandish claims about pot, often tossed in some racist rhetoric just for good measure.
Well, would it be fair to say that currently various establishment figures still brand cannabis as an African-American problem? Is that, I've heard that.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. So, hey, Barry, we have a list.
Yes, you do. You gave me a list, yeah.
Yep. Some might refer to them as a top 10.
That's how you've referred to it here.
Okay.
you gave me the list yesterday.
Yeah. So we got Harry's top 10 ridiculous marijuana claims. Would you like to make those claims and read the top 10?
Welcome to Harry Anslinger's top 10 ridiculous marijuana claims. Straight in at number 10. Colored students at the University of Minnesota partying with white female students, smoking marijuana, and getting their sympathy with stories of racial persecution. Result, pregnancy.
Ouch.
Number 9. I'm going to read it, don't worry. Number 9. Reefer makes darkies think they're as good as white men. Okay.
That's really tough.
Oh, I'm glad you made me read this out. Number 8. Marijuana is an addictive drug which produces in its users insanity, criminality, and death. We all know all those people have died from marijuana overdose, right?
Right, yeah.
The list is just non-starting. At number 7, despite the fact that medical men and scientists have disagreed upon the properties of marijuana and some are inclined to minimize the harm of this drug, the records offer ample evidence that it has a disastrous effect upon many of its users. And as we know now, the evidence is 198 and 200 of the pieces of evidence are bullshit.
Right.
Number 6, marijuana is the most violence-causing drug in the history of mankind. No, it's not. It's definitely. I can think of other violence-causing drugs, namely literally any of them.
Yeah.
Except maybe heroin. Okay, number 5. Therefore, from the standpoint of police work, it is a more dangerous drug than heroin or cocaine. No, it's not though, is it? No, it's not. Number 4. Marijuana leads to pacifism and communist brainwashing. That's supposed to be so. What's wrong with pacifism?
Yeah.
You don't want people out killing themselves, do you? Anyway.
That's not American. That's not John Wayne.
Yeah. Go out and kill the communists.
Yeah.
No, that's like the Guatemala show we did. Remember with Chesh?
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah, here we kill some communists." Like openly said, "Kill the communists."
Right.
Straight in at number 3. Exciting times. Okay, is this word haram? Am I allowed to say this?
Which one?
Yeah.
It's
Sure?
okay. It's okay. Yeah.
Are you sure?
It's definitely better than darkies.
Is it?
I would think so.
Okay, well, I'm going to let the people listening to this will decide whether or not it should be cancelled, okay? Straight in at number 3 in the top 10 Harry Anslinger quotes, 2 Negroes took a girl 14 years old and kept her for 2 days under the influence of hemp. Upon recovery, she was found to be suffering from syphilis. Now, that's not just incorrect, it's also deeply racist.
Uh-huh.
And it goes into we were
Terrible.
discussing this before about the idea of black men as preying on white women. We
Right.
discussed that in a number of different episodes, I think. Number 2.
Yeah.
Go on. Go.
I was just gonna say that's a common thread. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Because both parties will use
Black
it.
man wants to have sex with your white women.
Yep.
Number 2. I consider marijuana the worst of all narcotics, far worse than morphine or cocaine, morphine being heroin. Under its influences, men become beasts. Marijuana destroys life itself. No, it doesn't. It just makes you hungry and you sit there watching stupid videos.
Yeah.
Okay, number 1. This is the number 1 Harry Anslinger quote. And it is, you smoke a joint and you're likely to kill your brother.
Nice.
I don't have any brothers, so that definitely is a lie in my head. Okay, cool. All right.
All right, I guess.
What's that piece of music you used?
What is it? It's an old demo that I had called No Reason. So
It's
for
your
whatever
track.
reason. Yeah.
You wrote it, and
A long time ago.
fantastic, nice.
Thank you. So it's
I guess
a way to
that's
get
it.
around. It's a way to get around copyright. So,
It is. You own the copyright. Yeah.
yeah.
That's it. Is that it? Are we done with the top 10?
Yeah, but yet there's also another gem. We have a bonus, right, to the top
Okay.
10. Can you give me some more Loveberry for
I
this?
can.
This
Have
last
we
one,
ever had a top 10 that did not have a bonus round?
right?
No. Okay, this is the bonus round for Harry Anslinger quotes. There are 100,000 total marijuana smokers in the U.S., and most are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. Their satanic music, jazz, and swing result from marijuana usage. This marijuana causes white women to seek sexual relationships with Negroes, entertainers, and many others.
This is so fucking bad, right? This is so fucking bad. I mean, have you ever heard of a guy that says the quiet part out loud more than this fucker?
Well, I just said the quiet part out loud 4 different occasions, so I don't know.
But you were quoting a piece of shit. That's different. So.
You know what? From singing along with Snoop Dogg's when black people were in the room, quoting somebody else doesn't work sometimes. But I'm hoping I'm okay with this one.
I think you're fine. This is because we're sharing the information, not to.
If I'm not clear, please tell me in the comments.
Fair enough.
Well, I hope people would realize I did not say any of that with hate in my heart. I'll put it that way, right?
Blame me because I made him do it.
I'm not going to blame you for anything. Right, go.
All right. Harry hoped to orchestrate a nationwide dragnet of jazz musicians, and kept a file called the Marijuana and Musicians.
Oh, I love jazz, though. I love jazz.
Yeah. That's also known as. That's also Eminem, right?
Marijuana musicians.
Excuse me. Harry targeted the amazing Billie Holiday.
Correct.
After her 1939 song "Strange Fruit," and fuck if you have not heard that goddamn song.
Strange fruit. Yeah, what is it? Southern trees bear strange fruit. Blood on the leaves and blood on the root. It's a wonderful song.
It's super moving. The arrangement is fantastic. Of course, I mean anything that she does is great. But you know what? I was thinking about this today. Sorry, it's a little bit of segue. So my mom was a Billie Holiday fan, but
yes,
she didn't have anything of hers on CD, and this was back in the day of Napster and stuff like that. So I tried to do that, and I couldn't hardly find anything in. So I ended up Amazon just started, and I ordered a best of, and I was just at my parents' house, and I saw that song is not on there.
Oh,
it's a best of, and it's not on there. That's one
of her best tracks.
I know.
Yes,
but you got it.
But it is deeply controversial, and it's so direct. Yeah. You don't have to work out what it's about.
No, there's
a line in it that says black bodies swinging from the trees. There's no. Yeah. You don't have to work it out, and maybe it's I don't know. It is it's a very shocking song.
Yeah, you don't have to be a Shakespearean expert.
You don't have to analyze the metaphors or anything. Yeah.
The song was a protest song of lynching of Black Americans, with lyrics comparing the victims to fruits of trees. Harry assigned an agent to track her down after he refused to stop. After she refused to stop.
Don't you misgender Billie
Holiday. I'm not doing that. Speaking about racism or performing that song, right?
Yes.
Harry knew that he couldn't send a white agent to stalk her, so he had to hire a black man to do his dirty deed. This must have been painful for our dear Harry, that he had to employ a black man from Harlem, right? This had to fucking hurt.
Yeah, hire a black guy as he's on the payroll. God damn it.
Yeah. Jim Fletcher was that black guy. He danced with her at nightclubs. He got to know her really well. Billie Holiday, being the amazing person that she was, of course, caused Jimmy Fletcher to fall in love with her.
Yes.
Sadly, Billie also had addiction issues. She was addicted to booze and heroin. I'm not going to get into her bio. There's so much there, and I don't want to.
She did not have a happy life.
No, she did not. It's a rough story.
Yeah.
So she had been, doing heroin and drinking for some time. Harry learns of her addiction problems through Fletcher, right, and decides to close in on her. She's arrested. She serves 18 months in prison for her addiction or for her use. After her release, Harry isn't done with her. He's, I'm gonna fuck this bitch up, right? That's the kind of guy he is. During this time, performers such as Holidays were required to have a cabaret license, so that would be able to, so they can perform in liquor clubs and such. Right. So Harry found a way to blacklist her and keeps her from getting one of these licenses. She falls deep in depression because you're taking her vehicle away, right? This is what they do. So depression, back to addiction, goes worse. She eventually ends up in a hospital for recovery. There, she's diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver. They started administering methadone to get her off of her addiction, right?
Yep.
Then, boom, Harry sends his goons, the FBN, show up at the hospital claiming that they found heroin in her bedroom. Grand jury is convened. They summon an indictment. She's arrested. They handcuff her to her bed and place a police guard at her door. After 10 days of her methadone is eventually discontinued, thanks to Harry, she dies.
Anslinger ordered her taken off the methadone.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, he fucking killed Billie Holiday. So, how do you feel about Harry now? What the fuck?
Well, the more I found out about this guy, the less I like him.
Yeah. But it's not all bad. You're not going to believe this, Barry, but Harry, he actually had a heart of gold. Okay,
Is this sarcasm?
So let me tell you a story.
Okay.
Where we can appreciate what a sweet, charming person he was, right?
Okay.
Harry hears through the grapevine and his connections, because by now he's pretty much appeared to Hoover at this point, right? Because the FBN is just like adjacent to the FBI, right? This is big fucking deal. They didn't get along, by the way. That's a whole other. I didn't want to sidetrack too much into that.
Hoover and Anslinger.
They did not get along because it was just they were just bucking for power, both of them.
Or maybe
two pairs of shitheads.
If Hoover didn't like him.
Well, yeah. Anywho, so anyways, Harry hears about another amazing person, Judy Garland.
Yes.
Of course, who was famous for portraying Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, if you don't recognize her there. Poor Dorothy, poor Judy, fourth wall, started having issues with heroin. So Harry hears about this, and he goes to, takes the red eye. He's out there in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
Hookups with Garland and her peeps and the studio reps, sits down, talks to him, and says, Judy she needs to take care of herself. She needs to start taking longer vacations. What a fucking sweetheart, man.
But is that not the same problem that Billie Holiday had?
What the fuck is
addiction to heroin?
Barry, we're talking about Judy Garland, okay? We're talking about Dorothy. Okay. Come on. What a sweetheart.
What's the difference between Billie Holiday and Judy Garland? Like, what's the salient difference between those two people?
Harry's a sweetheart, Barry. You're missing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't see a difference at all between. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So, but the man's not done.
There's
the man's
more.
Not done. You know what? Maybe this is him. This is an arc, right? This is an arc in his hair. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Maybe he's becoming a good dude. So let me tell you another story, right? So you may have heard of this guy too. I don't know. His name is Joseph McCarthy.
Uncle Joe, yeah.
Yeah. So yep. He was a U.S. senator who was infamous for his campaign in the 1950s against communist and Soviet spies.
You're like the U.S. government during some other episodes.
Maybe, right? Not only in the U.S. government, but as well in Hollywood, right? The Red Scare. This was known as McCarthyism. It included accusations, intimidations, and disregard for civil liberties. Good guy, right? Another good guy. So, anyways, our hero Harry he hooks up Senator McCarthy with heroin.
He gave him heroin.
I'm sorry, not heroin. I'm sorry. Morphine.
Okay.
See, it's not that bad. He gave him morphine. Yeah, because, this guy was a booze hound and he also had problems with morphine, so Harry helped him out. But at some point, Harry decided, you know what, Joe, you need to stop. You need to quit. But McCarthy reminded of him of the potential public scandal if it was ever to come out that Harry had been providing him with morphine. So Harry relented and steadily supplied McCarthy with morphine that he paid for by the Bureau and obtained from local drugstores. This arrangement continued until McCarthy's death in 1957.
That's
Hey,
insane.
what a good guy.
And he handcuffed Billie Holiday to the bed and took away her methadone when she was trying to recover.
Yep, but he helped this fucking piece of shit. So,
But he's a white guy.
I
guess if you say things like jazz, it's
Barry,
Barry,
I don't
right?
see color, so I just don't know what you're talking about.
Oh no, I say Anslinger. Anslinger said nothing about that, did he? He didn't say anything about that. No.
No. Guy wasn't. You're right. It's jazz. That's the problem.
It's jazz.
Yeah.
It's a gateway drug, jazz.
It's a gateway to jazz.
So what?
In later years, Harry also suffered from a mental breakdown characterized by intense paranoia and irrational thoughts. Did anybody think that he was smoking pot? Such as believing that addiction was contagious and addicts had to be quarantined, or talking about secret plots throughout the world. He eventually was hospitalized because of this breakdown.
Oh, so maybe this thing about addiction being contagious is the first case of a social contagion.
Oh, maybe. When he turned 70, Harry is submitted he submitted his resignation because that was the retirement age, mandatory, right? He says it to Kennedy because Kennedy is the new man in town, right? Mm-hmm. But Kennedy didn't have a successor in place, so he had to stay on for another year, which still is fucking bizarre. That one just throws me. 1973, Harry is completely blind. He had he had a bad prostate. Let's go with that.
Okay.
He suffered from angina, and ironically, when he died, Harry was being treated with regular doses of morphine, which he was prescribed for his angina. The colossal piece of shit that was the focus of this episode died on November 14th, 1975. He's buried somewhere in PA. I will mark it down if I ever decide to go on a trip so I can go piss on his grave. He died of heart failure at the age of 83. What a fucking piece of shit. Yeah. No one has shaped how addiction and drugs has been used or criminalized more than Harry, not only in the U.S. but abroad. He was a hero to a young man he employed as a narcotics agent in 1957. That man's name was Joe Arpaio, better known as Sheriff Joe.
I know Sheriff Joe.
Sheriff Joe used Harry's racist rhetoric in his campaign on the U.S. South border issues, and he violated the rights of migrant workers as well as other U.S. citizens.
Slave labor in his town, didn't he?
Yep. He was a total fuckhead. He was friends of Steven Seagal. That's all you need to know, really. His propaganda and use of law enforcement was instrumental in influencing and used heavily by both Nixon and later Reagan in the White House war on drugs. And that is the story of this colossal fucking piece of shit.
I mean, how you could, when they say the war on drugs, that's almost like war on an abstract concept.
Right.
Like how the drugs are going to win. If you declare a war on drugs, the drugs will win no matter what you do. You have to have some sort of a policy that takes account of the fact that people are humans. You can't expect people to ascribe to abstract concepts. Like, I don't use drugs. I never have. And as I said, but even I can see that this is just madness. This war on drugs thing is madness. And the Johann Hari book that you quoted there, that book goes and explains exactly...
I believe it's called Chasing the Screams, I believe is the title.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
He did great work and great research in that book.
Yeah. But God damn, I tell you what, he's got to be so far like one of the top 10 biggest pieces of shit I've just come across.
Well, dude, you were
in doing all this
shit for this series of podcasts on the Jib. Piece of shit central. That's what we should subtitle the whole podcast, right?
You're right. Yeah,
well, I have a question for you.
Oh, Jesus.
What's happening now?
Close enough.
What's new, pussycat? Whoa! Okay, what's new? All right. This is the part of the show where we put the word CIA or FBI into Google, hit the news tab, and see what madness shows up. And we do it just before the show instead of live because when we did it before, we tended to get the same story over and over again. So now we're just picking bits. But right before the show is when we did this. Seamus, you have some FBI-related material, I believe.
Yeah, so I have 3. I don't know what to think of any of these, honestly. But
well, I'm sure they'll tell us in the chat what to think of them.
Fair enough. We can always count on the chat. Thanks again for you guys. Seriously. So this is under the judicial review. Documents reveal FBI sought to develop sources in local Catholic charities. Chairman Jordan. Yep.
Local what?
Catholic charities.
Catholic charities. Okay.
Sorry, Catholic churches. I said charities.
Oh, Catholic churches, sorry. Even worse.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So they're trying to infiltrate the Catholic Church now. I'm kind of torn on this, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I don't like the FBI infiltrating much, but Catholic Church.
If you want to take down the Catholic Church, maybe do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you really fucking go after him, by all means. Then there's an article that through comparison between what we know now, because there's so much more about what we know the FBI was doing against MLK, matches up to some of the works that his family has shared, that he in fact was more than aware of what they were trying to do to him. Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they had a counterintelligence operation going.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then this one I just find funny. FBI pledges they will do their best to recruit more women.
Fair enough.
I'm just so glad that they've come around because that's what's important, right?
Well, I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind recruiting more women in the FBI. That's not bad.
But it's the same. I mean, okay, so this, and maybe this is just me being my cynical asshole that I am. It's the kind of, and I'm sure everybody, if I'm sure you've seen this meme, but not everybody has. You'll have a couple in the Middle East, right? And they're in the desert, and they're in their Arabic garb, right? And they're walking, and they both look up, and they're like, "Oh, here comes the bombs!" And then somebody whispers to them, "Yes, but I heard that they now have a woman in charge, and it's so inclusive."
That's fair enough.
You know what I mean? It's just, yeah, fuck that. That's it. That's all I got for the FBI.
I have some stuff of my own. Let's see. The first one is, the headline says, a database of gang members in California included 42 babies.
Oh, Jesus.
A database widely used by police departments across California has little oversight and major flaws, including naming dozens of babies as active gang members, according to a state audit released on Thursday. So you should definitely look up that story because it's high and also hilarious. Now,
well, you know what they do? That you know what that is? That's the process of gathering information. So they have somebody, maybe it's a social worker, maybe it's somebody going to the door, maybe it's somebody that's infiltrating in the gang, right? And they're just getting names, they're getting information, and they're just flooding it to whoever, and whoever it is collecting it. And they're assuming, because your dad is a fucking crypt, that you must be a crypt too down the road.
They said in the article that some of it is to do with typos as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't know if it's true, man. That's what the article says.
Oh, I could fucking see it, because that's how they see these. Right?
But definitely look up that article.
That's how they
like
see this shit.
Another one says, you're going to like this one. 40 years ago, the CIA tried to decode consciousness and unlock time travel. In 1983, U.S. Lieutenant Colonel Wayne McDonnell was asked to write a report for the CIA about a project called Gateway Process. Have you heard about this?
Wasn't that a movie, Stargate?
Gateway Process, something like that. His report, declassified in 2003, gives the scientific underpinnings as well as instructions and technical assistance to help people convert the energy of their minds and bodies into a laser beam that can transcend space-time. So check it out, right? That's in Popular Mechanics, so it's an actual proper magazine I got it from. It's not like...
Yeah, right.
And the last one is just a music quiz on the Irish Times. And the quiz is, which Westlife song, Westlife is an Irish boy band, Which Westlife
Okay.
song was used by the CIA as part of its torture program in Afghanistan?
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, and you can just you can look up that if you want, but the headline is where the comedy is, and that's where I'm done. That's all my links.
Would you consider that an act of torture, though, if you had to listen to that song over and over again?
Westlife.
Yeah.
Not really.
Okay.
They're just pop music. Like, it's just regular pop music. It's not particularly insulting. But people say that about Nickelback, that Nickelback is absolutely horrible. They're not. They're just regular pop music, you know? I mean,
Nickelback is pretty fucking bad. Come on.
but they're not like the demons of music that everybody says they are. They're just a pop band. Like, I mean, you know, they're not particularly awful. There's no way to be on Nickelback.
They're awful. They are awful.
His haircut is awful.
True.
Anyway, yeah.
He's really hung up about photography. That's all I know. So.
He's the photograph of the. So that's our show, I think. Is that our show?
I think that's it, man. So
All right. Thanks for joining us for the War on Drugs.
we'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Maybe. Sorta.
Rock and roll and
Bye.
jazz.